There's a room in Buckingham Palace on the 3rd floor where on the 7th of April, 1853, Queen Victoria gave birth to her 8th child. She was 33 years old. Her husband, Prince Albert, was in the room, and so was a physician named John Snow. Snow held a folded handkerchief over the Queen's face. Every few minutes, he poured a small amount of chloroform onto the cloth. The Queen inhaled. She stayed conscious. She talked to Albert between contractions, and she felt almost no pain. Prince Leopold was born at 1:15 in the afternoon. The Queen wrote in her journal that the chloroform was, and this is her actual phrase, soothing, quieting, and delightful beyond measure. That handkerchief was the beginning of something. It ended an idea that had ruled childbirth for 1,500 years, and it started one of the strangest unsolved problems in obstetrics today. Quick note before we get into it. What you're seeing on screen is an AI avatar, a digital version of me built from my own voice and my own likeness. The words are mine, the science has been thoroughly reviewed, and the cases are thoroughly researched. Because I'm a working anesthesiologist. My day job is in the operating room, not in front of a camera. This avatar is how I keep showing up here, between cases. Here is my commitment to you. I bring you the cases that shape the world we live in and the people we love, the ones that change how medicine is practiced, and the ones you need to know about before you or your family ever step into a hospital. So please like, subscribe, and enjoy. Now, back to the case. For most of recorded history, the pain of childbirth was considered religious, not just unfortunate, religious. Specifically, it was considered punishment. The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 16 says, and I'm quoting the King James Version, "In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children." That sentence had been used for over 1,000 years to argue that taking pain away from labor was theologically wrong. Some clergy said it was sinful. Some doctors agreed. When James Young Simpson, a Scottish physician, started using chloroform on women in labor in the 1840s, he had to publish a pamphlet defending himself biblically. He pointed to Genesis chapter 2, where God put Adam to sleep before removing his rib to create Eve. That, Simpson argued, was the first surgery under anesthesia, and God himself had performed it. It was a clever argument. It didn't win right away, but it set the stage. Queen Victoria's chloroform birth in 1853 is often described as the moment everything changed. That's not quite true. The medical establishment kept pushing back hard. The Lancet, the most prestigious medical journal in Britain, published criticism. Many obstetricians refused to offer pain relief in labor for years afterward. What Victoria did was give cover. She was the most famous woman in the world. She just had 8 children, and she said publicly that pain relief during labor was a blessing beyond measure. The medical establishment couldn't dismiss her experience the way they dismissed working-class women's pain. And by the way, that physician who held the handkerchief? John Snow. The year after he delivered Prince Leopold, he proved cholera was waterborne by mapping cases around a single water pump on Broad Street in London. He's remembered today as the founder of modern epidemiology. He was an anesthesiologist first. Chloroform had a problem. It worked, but it could kill you. Patients died of cardiac arrhythmias. Doctors couldn't dose it precisely. By the early 1900s, the obstetric anesthesia world was looking for something better, something that could remove pain from below the waist without putting the patient to sleep. In 1931, a Romanian obstetrician named Eugen Epidural did something almost no one remembers. He threaded a thin silk catheter into the epidural space of a laboring woman and infused local anesthetic. She felt no pain. She stayed awake. She participated in her own delivery. It worked, but the technique was almost impossible to do safely with the equipment available. The needles were too thick, too sharp. Catheters got cut. Spinal fluid leaked. Epidural's method was brilliant in theory and dangerous in practice. The world wasn't ready yet. What changed in 1944 was, and I mean this literally, a piece of metal 1/10 of a millimeter long. An American anesthesiologist named Edward Tuohy at the Mayo Clinic had been searching for a way to thread a catheter into the spinal area without slicing it on the needle's edge. A Seattle dentist named Ralph Huber had patented a needle design with a curved tip, originally for dental injections. Tuohy borrowed the geometry. The curved tip let the catheter exit sideways instead of straight forward, gliding into the epidural space instead of into the spinal cord itself. That curved tip is still in every epidural needle made today, every single one. The Tuohy needle is in our hands every shift. It's why I can put a catheter in a woman's back in 15 minutes that lets her feel nothing for the next 12 hours. 80 years old. Still the most important tool in obstetric anesthesia. Now here's the thing we don't usually emphasize when expecting mothers sign the epidural consent form. Epidurals fail more often than you'd think. The published failure rates depend on how you define failure. A 2013 study in the journal Anesthesia, looking at over 1,500 labor epidurals, found a failure rate of 23%. Nearly 1 in 4 women who got an epidural had some kind of inadequate pain relief. Either it didn't work at all, or it worked unevenly, or it stopped working halfway through. A 2022 study on C-section conversions found the failure rate there is around 21%, meaning when a labor epidural gets upgraded to surgical anesthesia for an emergency C-section, 1 in 5 doesn't fully take. And here's the strange part, we do not fully understand why. There are several theories, none of them fully explain it. Theory 1, anatomy. The epidural space isn't a clean, smooth potential space. There are fibrous bands running through it called the plica mediana dorsalis. In some patients, these bands divide the space into compartments. So when we inject local anesthetic on one side, it doesn't reach the other side. We see this in cadaver studies, but we can't see it before we place the needle. Theory 2, drug spread. Local anesthetic doesn't always distribute evenly. Patient position, catheter angle, injection rate, drug concentration. All of these influence spread in ways we can't fully predict. Theory 3, pain genes. People genuinely vary in how their nervous systems process pain signals. A 2005 paper in Human Molecular Genetics identified variants in a gene called COMT, which affects pain sensitivity by as much as 3 to 4-fold across the population. Now here's the deeper layer those theories all point toward. Pain is subjective. Most things in medicine we measure. Blood pressure has a number, blood sugar has a number, heart rate has a number, pain doesn't. There is no machine that measures pain. The closest we have is a 10-point scale where we ask the patient, on a scale from 0 to 10, how bad is it? And we trust their answer. That trust is the foundation of obstetric anesthesia. When a mother says, I can still feel the contractions, we believe her. When she says the pain is bearable, we believe her. When she says it's getting worse, we adjust. 2 patients with identical epidural placement, identical drugs, identical doses, can have completely different experiences. One feels nothing, the other feels everything. We can confirm on imaging that the catheter is in the right place in both. We still can't predict which experience either woman will have. I want to tell you what actually happens when I place an epidural. The woman is sitting on the edge of the bed, leaning forward. I clean her back. I find the L3 to L4 interspace by feeling for the iliac crest, the top of her hip bones. I insert a thin needle, then switch to the tohi. I attach a glass syringe full of saline and start advancing slowly, gently pushing the plunger as I go. The whole technique is built on a feeling. The needle moves through dense tissue so the plunger resists me. Then suddenly, when the tip enters the epidural space, the resistance vanishes. The saline flows in freely. We call it loss of resistance. That moment is the only signal I have that I'm in the right place. No light, no alarm, no imaging, just the feel of the syringe under my fingers. 11 years of practice has taught me what that feels like. And every single time, the woman in front of me is trusting me to recognize it. Then I thread the catheter, tape it down, inject a test dose, wait 2 minutes, ask her to tell me what she feels. This is the part of the procedure that nobody outside medicine knows about. After the catheter goes in, I'm not done. I have to test the block. I use a small piece of ice or a cold spray, drawing a line up her belly until she says, "Here, this is where I can feel cold and not before." That tells me the level of the block. For a C-section, that level needs to reach her chest. If it doesn't, I add medication and test again. If after several adjustments the block still doesn't reach where it needs to, I tell the surgical team we have to switch to general anesthesia. Every single time, every block, every patient, the same test, because the only way I can know whether the epidural is working is by asking her and trusting her answer. Here's what I find genuinely beautiful about this. Obstetric anesthesia is one of the only procedures in medicine where the patient is awake, alert, fully participating and reporting in real time on what's happening in her own body. She's not a passive object on the table. She is the most important instrument in the room. Her words are the data. When I place an epidural, I'm not doing something to her. I'm doing something with her. The procedure works only because she tells me second by second whether it's working. The trust runs both ways. She trusts that I know what loss of resistance feels like. I trust that she'll tell me honestly when she feels pain. That partnership is what makes modern childbirth possible. 170 years ago, doctors thought women's pain was something to be managed without consulting them. Now, the woman's report is the truth we work from. Think about how far we've traveled. In 1853, the most famous woman in the world had to defy 1,500 years of religious doctrine just to ask for pain relief while giving birth. The Bible was used to argue that her pain was holy. Her doctors needed permission from the church to do their work. Today, every mother walking into a delivery room in this country can ask for an epidural and get one within 30 minutes. Not because we've cured pain, we haven't. About 1 in 5 still feel something. Not because we fully understand the mechanism, we don't. The mystery of why some epidurals fail is still being argued in journals. But the conversation has shifted from whether her pain matters to how we can best honor it. From clergy debating Genesis to women writing their own birth plans. That shift took 6 generations. So here's what I'd love you to take away from this. The epidural in your back, if you ever have one, is the result of a chain of decisions. Queen Victoria choosing chloroform in 1853. Jon Snow administering it carefully on a handkerchief. James Young Simpson arguing his case from Genesis chapter 2. Eugen Aberell threading the first labor catheter in 1931. Edward Tuohy borrowing a dentist's needle design in 1944. It's a long chain. It's still being built. The next link will be ours. When I walk into a labor room and a woman asks me to take her pain away, I think about that handkerchief. I think about the 3rd floor of Buckingham Palace on the 7th of April, 1853. I think about all the women who came before her who weren't given the choice. Then I get to work. Thanks for watching.
Like, comment, and follow for more.